Okay, welcome everyone. This is the Conservation Commission's Wednesday, March 19th, 2025 meeting. We're calling to order at 7:04. For roll call, for members present, we have Laura Rodriguez, Carol Jordan, Nora Jones, Patty Phillips, and Jackie Kulig. And does somebody want to make a motion to seat Patty?
I'll move that we see Patty for Maryland.
Okay, a second?
I'll
Anyone want to?
second it.
Okay, that's Nora seconded it. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay. Sorry, I was raising my hand. You didn't even see it. Aye. Was off the screen. Okay, so moved.
So
All right.
I'm sorry, we seated Patty for who?
For
For
Maryland,
Maryland.
Ellen Schreiber.
Yeah, when it was Carol and
Yeah.
Nora.
That part I was all focused on getting.
Yeah, I'm assuming that you're not expecting Maryland to attend.
She didn't say, but I haven't, I'm not sure she's gonna come or not. If she comes late, then we'll just have to unseat. We'll have to see Patty for Bob. if you don't-
Bob, yeah.
Okay. All right. Approval of minutes from February 19th. Do I hear a motion?
I make a motion to approve the minutes from February 19th.
Okay. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Okay, that's Jackie. Second. Any discussion? Anything that we need to correct in the minutes? Thank you, Laura, so much for doing these. I particularly appreciate that you went into detail about the discussion we had with Austin Harmon from Hall, so that members who were not present could see what some of the questions and answers were. So thank you for doing that. And by the way, for those of you who may not have been last month's meeting, it's on YouTube. So you can always go to YouTube to see the meeting. Any other discussion on the minutes? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Any
I'll
abstentions?
abstain because I wasn't there.
Okay, so that's an abstention from Carol. All right, so moved. All right, present to speak. We have a few folks here tonight. What I'd like to suggest, Steve's with us from the library, and we wait until we get down to old business and discuss under public library item. And Heather, you're here tonight. You're welcome to say hello to everybody. And
Hello, everybody. I'm Heather Allenson. I've been a Wellington resident for 24 years now. I have been active. I was the chair, treasurer, and vice chair of library board for a few years, but I took a break from public service after that. But now I'm back in Conservation Commission. It seems like a good fit. I'm a master naturalist, professionally as an archaeologist and historian.
wow.
And I am currently in the Deeps Wildlife Conservation Ambassador Program. So I have a good understanding of habitats and trails and things like that.
That's wonderful. So you're joining us tonight because you have an interest in joining the commission.
Mhm.
Okay. Great.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, exciting.
Yeah.
What we'll do is when we get down to membership, if you want to hang out with us for the rest of the meeting, we can talk a little bit about next steps for that. And Bob is with us. He's coming in. All right.
Heather,
Carol,
I'm sorry, Heather, could you just tell me how you spell your last name?
Sure. It's ALEX as an X-ray, SON.
ALEXON.
SON.
SON. Alexon. Thank you. And we just got Bob. Okay.
yeah, Bob just came in. So just noting that Bob came in about 7:08. Hi, Bob.
They wouldn't let me in on my phone.
Oh.
Hi, Bob.
Oh,
It's because we want to see your face in full view.
oh boy.
Carol, you want to give us a treasurer's report?
Sure. Now, I haven't, I believe that Kathy, you told me that registration for the conference that you and Laura are going to this Saturday was $110 for each of you. So if you add those encumbrances in, that would bring our committed funds to $39.45, leaving an unspent or uncommitted balance of $960.55.
Okay. Laura, did you need Carol to repeat any of that? for the
Yes.
minutes?
All right, so what I had here, I did miss the registration for conference for the two of us. Was that 110?
Yeah, and I need you and Kathy to submit to me either a copy of a check or your copy of your registration form, so I can put those into for reimbursement.
Okay, and then it
Kathy,
was,
Kathy was it, is that, you told me Kathy was 110?
Yeah, I checked again, Carol, and they did not have a membership rate. It was either early bird or not.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
that's interesting, because in the past they've had a special rate for CLCC members. Okay,
Yeah.
so
All right,
but I,
and
you
then
know,
it was, okay, I'm just sorry. So with that, then you said there was 539.45 left for committed funds?
that's either spent or includes that encumbering the funds for your CLCC membership conference.
Leaving 960.55 that is unencumbered,
Yep, uncommitted at this time.
uncommitted.
Yeah.
Okay,
Great. And the other thing I always like to report under finance is just what we have for balance in the ARPA funds that we have to spend by next March. It's already been encumbered basically at,
Willards.
thank you, Carol. at
Yeah,
Willard.
Willards for trail purchases for
Trail maintenance.
trail maintenance or
Yeah.
maintenance.
Yeah, so we can buy whatever we need from Willards with that
And
money.
we're, and we're assuming that we might be able to use some of that if it were appropriate on the Petix property, if we wanted to put up, if we needed a post to put stuff up on, or,
Yeah.
you know,
Sign in, sure.
for a map box or something like that for that.
Yeah.
But
all right,
that
so is
would
the
fall
ARPA,
within the spirit of that appropriation.
is the ARPA fund balance then still the 1802.90?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, under old business, collaborative organizational news and communication. Steve's here from the Wellington Public Library. Hi, Steve. You want to tell us a little bit about what some of the possibilities are for collaborative events?
Yeah, so I know last meeting we had discussed the Earth Day event. I think since then I confirmed with Kathy that the 26th was confirmed for the Earth Day program that we won at auction. That was with author Michael Caduto, who is also um, a performer, seems to be involved in a lot of environmental programming. He does all ages. This particular program he won at auction was a little more designated towards kids, just kind of tales of Earth and the conservation efforts around the world, kind of storytelling and song. The other collaborative event was I believe actually the week prior, we have, and sorry, I'm pulling up her name. I want to say it was Jessica, or sorry, with a J. She was from Ashford to do the pollinator program.
Jennifer.
Jennifer. I knew it was a J, yeah, the pollinator pathway. So she was looking to do an hour with us on Saturday, the 19th at 11 a.m. And I think they're also going to include, because we're interested in restarting up a seed library. You know, we have kind of our own sources within the library world, but they were going to offer some points and tips for us at our end to help kind of cultivate a good local pollinator seed library that could be utilized throughout the year, at least throughout the months where people usually would come in and, you know, take a pack of seeds or maybe bring some in to donate and can swap and what have you. And then I think the final event I had mentioned was a summer reading program, kind of coordinating what we did last year with the story time and hike, because last year's theme was a little bit more outdoorsy. This one is kind of the theme this year is a little bit more about gaming and gamifying, but it also includes, outdoor games like Guess Who and I Spy and like a Where's Waldo theme. So one of the books that is utilized kind of has that Where's Waldo, I Spy uh, sense to it. And so the thought was to possibly do kind of a nature themed scavenger hunt around the pond, the loop trail that starts near the little park area, do the story time, then maybe have a nature themed scavenger hunt. And one of the prizes that we have for our summer reading would be kind of held back, and whoever kind of completed the scavenger hunt first would win that prize, which was I believe it's one of the characters from the book. It's kind of like a little plushie, so it's kind of more geared towards younger kids, and the stories are usually more for toddlers to, maybe as high as 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. So it would be within age appropriateness, but it'd be associated with the story. It kind of creates a little prize to draw people in to the event, but it also gets them outside and utilizing the open space.
Okay, so there's a potential for basically 3 different programs then, as I'm hearing you.
Yeah.
We can
And the
cooperate on.
yeah, and the third one, programming wise, would outside of any costs if we had the purchaser, depending what we wanted to do for the scavenger hunt would be low or no cost. If there's things I feel like last time I was on the trail, it's been a moment, but I feel like there might have been like a little guide as you walked around that there are things you could notice. So could either utilize that or associate something similar to the trail and kind of have kids maybe point out a specific type of tree or a leaf, or maybe if we know it's in July and maybe there's a certain sound they might hear from like birds or wildlife at that time of day and that time of year, could do something like, oh, spot the sound of this. Or even have someone hiding in a bush and just like the turkey call, just have someone like shaking a turkey collar and they're like, oh, I heard the turkey. But those are just some of the thoughts. But yeah, the program we have on the 26th of April, the 19th of April, and then the summer reading program would be a to be determined, but would likely be a Saturday in July or August.
Okay. All right. And so in terms of, there's 2 parts to this, I guess. We would think about what the Commission could do in terms of assisting with the costs of either the program with Earth Day. I know that you've already won that as an auction, but I think you
Yeah.
told us last time, I mean, if we contributed toward it, that would leave some money in the library's bank for other things, so to speak. And
Yeah, the Friends of the Library cover all our programming costs. This was actually paid for. The library kind of has a business credit card, so it would fall under a programming line item, but we haven't actually paid out that balance yet. So we would be reporting those once we paid it off. We'd be adding it to the Friends budget line item and then kind of reporting those costs to them and their budget and what they approve. Just pulling up the cost again. I believe it was 240 last time we spoke.
yeah, that's what I had in my notes.
Yeah, so that should be the cost. And yeah, so it's already kind of, I want to say it's spoken for, but the option would be if the Conservation Commission did want to fund that, it would likely be just making a donation to the Friends of the Library. And then obviously if that happened, we would make sure any promotional flyers and verbiage and posts on social media and online and like the e-blast would make a note of thanking the Conservation Commission for helping or for sponsoring the program. Um, and then I believe for the pollinator one, that one think when we spoke or emailed, it was I think you were looking to offer $100 for the like a speaking engagement fee for that event.
Yeah, that's what Jennifer had said, she usually asks for a stipend is $100 for her program on, native plants and pollinators. So, oh, Marilyn's coming in. Let me just admit her. Okay.
And with that one, I'd have to double check because I don't know if she has a W-9 or has any documentation for us to cut a check from the town. Um, but that one might be more of a program if you are able to cut a check to her directly. That might be a smoother um, transaction process compared to the April 26th program. So that was just one suggestion, but if I can, but if we have it kind of confirmed, if you want to do the same with if you approve both, if you went forward with the Earth Day program and this and wanted to just do a bulk like 240 or 340 donation and have the friends cover the payment, we can work that out with Jennifer and figure out how to get a check cut for her.
Okay. All right, and then the summer reading program, as you said again, where you would read a story in the picnic area and then take the kids out for something like a scavenger hunt. That
Yeah.
perhaps be low cost or helping pay for the surprise or the prize.
Yeah, it'd be low cost and no cost. We already paid for the prizes, and I believe the friends actually reimbursed us for that, so you wouldn't even have to worry about the cost for that. It would probably be, if anything, depending on how involved the scavenger hunt was, it would probably be getting some labor assistance in terms of setup and prep, and having volunteers maybe from the commission that would be present for the event. So, there's obviously there's an assumed cost for the time and labor, but I know as volunteers, you guys obviously aren't getting paid for it.
Can I say something quick? You're talking about the Taylor Pond Loop, right?
Yes.
I have scavenger hunts already designed for those for all 4 seasons because I've done it for 4-H and for some of my deep stuff
That's awesome.
for kids and adults. So
Ooh, let's do adult
and
one.
I do need volunteer hours for deep. So for myself.
I would, as the director, I'd absolutely, obviously, I know you're looking to jump on the commission, but no, absolutely. If you're interested in doing that and
Yeah,
everything
even
works
outside
out.
the commission, I would
Yeah.
volunteer.
Okay.
I could volunteer my expertise in, but also I have designed, I had curriculum I designed that included scavenger hunts for the Taylor Pond Loop specifically.
Well, that would be perfect.
Right. So that's no cost to you guys.
Wow, that's awesome. Well, it sounds like maybe you guys can connect, maybe share your contact information
Yeah.
from that side of it. And if there are other people on the commission too that want to volunteer for that day, once we have a date.
I would be willing to help out too as a conservation member and master wildlife conservationist if you need me.
No, that'd be
Right,
great. Yeah. No, the more the merrier. I mean, obviously, with it being a summer program, depending on how busy it is, there could be I think last time, I think maybe Laura joined us and one other commission member. I think
Laura.
I think we had we had one family. So it was a quieter event.
One,
It
yeah,
also
we
was a
just
little
had the one family.
it was a little overcast, and actually I think there was a brief pop-up shower while we were doing the walk, but it was a nice time. And depending on the weather and the timing, um it could be a pretty popular event, especially incorporating a prize, incorporating a game within it. It kind of gives um an adventure with the exploration of the trail.
I love the fact that Heather has one for adults, and couldn't you incorporate that too so that the parents could be
Oh yeah, no, I could
kind of
definitely look
doing their
into
own too, or even for older kids, maybe
yeah.
might be more appropriate.
Yeah, no, I could double check what we brought in for various prizes and see if there's an adult themed one. Usually with the adults, we got a few, I think, teen and maybe 1 or 2 adult prizes, but we tend to, when it comes to the summer reading, we end up doing gift cards for them like Wellington Pizza, Flat
Yeah.
Pennies, Jorgensen. So
Those are good.
yeah,
Hey,
I'd be competitive at a scavenger hunt.
especially if it was Wellington Pizza, man, I'd be. So did you have another comments or question? I see your hand still up. No, you're good. Okay. Thank you.
So would it make sense for us to support the pollinator, the fee for the pollinator person?
Do you want to make a separate motion for that specifically, Carol, or are you
I mean, it just
suggesting?
seems if there's not, if some of the other costs are already being taken care of by the library board for that one program, it seems like the one place where you could use some financial support might be with the pollinator program. If that meant,
Yeah.
so yeah, I'll make a motion And do we know a fixed amount? Would it be 100 or would it be approximately? Is that a fixed figure?
When I talked to Jennifer, she said that, $100 would be an appropriate stipend for her. One of the things I would like to suggest is if we're going to make an appropriation, we might also want to consider if we're having Jennifer go to the library, there's a couple other things that she suggested or had some thoughts on. To have a table there with information and she can provide information. We may want to give out seed packets that people can plant because it's early enough in the season. And also I talked to Connie Bedan about some of these things, from the pollinator side. She said the Girl Scouts would be willing to be there as well and have a table and, provide information or help Jennifer out as well. So, but I was thinking in terms of appropriation, a stipend for Jennifer of $100, but perhaps also committing some additional resources, maybe to buy some seeds or something, because we don't have, our next meeting would be probably right around that 19th. So let me see when our next meeting is. So we wouldn't have time if, to appropriate anything really to buy some seeds or something like that. That's just a suggestion.
Yeah, are they looking for seeds, Kathy, or additional plants or whatever? Do you know how much the Girl Scouts might need?
Oh, they would like another $100 that we gave them
Yeah.
last year to replace the plants, the annuals in the pollinator garden. So that's
That's a separate thing.
a separate thing. But I think Carol's looking ahead to how much money we have in the pot.
Yeah, we've got, after reading they say, don't ask for more money than you're gonna need. I think maybe we should be spending some money. Because, this would, but at least if we did this, we will have spent at least half of our money. If we did spend an additional 100 for the speaker and 100 toward the garden itself at the park. So I can amend my motion to make it or we can vote separately on the two issues.
Okay. All right. So you're suggesting we not provide any funding toward Earth Day because that's already committed is what?
I don't, that's up, Steve, is the Earth Day? Is the Earth Day that you said was being covered by the library board or?
Yeah, so that one would be traditionally funded by the Friends. This would be comparable to last year's Raptor program that we did, where the Friends would have covered it if the Conservation Commission didn't want to move forward with covering the funds. But if you did want to do that, the process would be similar to that, where a check would be cut from the commission to the Friends, and then we would just instead of in our promotional flyers or during the event, thank the Friends for funding the program, we would instead put in verbiage and state how the Conservation Commission sponsored it. So that's the main difference. But yeah, so if funds are tight and you guys would rather stick with one program, that's also fine. But if you did both for that particular program, and I'd even help out with creating signage with Jennifer and you all for the pollinator program, we'd make a point of when we introduce her, thanking you guys for helping sponsor and bring it to the library.
Okay, so would the $100 from us then cover the cost to the library for the pollinator program?
Excuse me, the stipend, but if we wanted to
stipend.
bring some seed packets, wouldn't that be a little bit more?
Yeah, and I'd have to talk to Jennifer to see if, how she would want to do that, if she would buy them or we would buy them and then bring, make sure they're there at the, maybe if we split this up and have it two separate things, because I don't know at this point if Jennifer would be the one to buy them. So we can't really appropriate the money to Jennifer, just for the stipend at this point. How do people feel about that? Do you want to do it as two separate items?
Two separate items.
Okay. So Carol, if you want to continue to make that motion, sorry.
I'm easy. No, So we want to vote separately on the stipend. I'll make a motion to approve $100 for the stipend for the speaker, the pollinator garden speaker.
I'll second.
Okay, any more discussion on that? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Hi,
Any,
hi,
hi, Marilyn.
hello, go ahead.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? So moved. Okay, so just so we're clear, and maybe Carol, you and Steve can talk this out. I'm sure Jennifer can give you her social security number if that's what the town would need, if we're gonna pay her directly versus donation to the Friends of the Library. And then they would somehow reimburse her.
Might be, would it be, Steve, would be more easier if we just paid her directly from our,
Yeah, I think so. If you have experience doing this in the past, I think it saves you a step from having to, donate it to the friends and then we cut a check and give it to her. It's kind of like it's kind of create an extra paper trail
Yeah.
for the process, I
Right.
think.
Mhm.
yep.
Okay.
And then separately, do we want, I'll also make a motion that we appropriate $100 for the pollinator garden at the park, for the Girl Scouts, to use for refurbishing the park, the pollinator garden at Fenton Ruby.
Okay, do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Bob seconded it. Any more discussion on that? All I'll just say, Carol, is that Connie told me what she would probably do is the same as she's done in the past, because Tri-County now knows that the town will pay, the invoice, so that she would pick out the plants. Tri-County would come up with an invoice for it, and they would send that to you, or you could pick it
Or
up.
she can get it to me, and then I'll turn it in for direct reimbursement. Yeah, I
Okay.
think although if I tag along, I'm a familiar face, but yeah, okay.
But Tri-County wouldn't have any problem with waiting to be paid.
No, they're really good.
Yeah, that's what she said, so.
And
Okay,
it's nice to support them because they do really good work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Besides just the flowers, the people that they host them and teach them what to do.
Yeah.
You can't, that is something that's just magnificent.
It's a wonderful program, and
Yeah.
they are just so good at working with the community. And so, it's a really good all around for all of the nonprofits involved. The Girl Scouts and us and Tri-County as well. So, yeah.
and then in terms of having something available to give out at the pollinator program that Jennifer's doing, like seed packages, do we want to maybe appropriate? I don't know how much seeds are going to be at this point, if we got 25 packets or something at, I don't know,
Is it-
$2.
I was just
Kathy,
presented
wait.
with a packet of seeds from my granddaughter, who's a brownie scout, that I'm supposed to scatter somewhere. So I don't think the cost there would be very much, but why don't we just say that we could also support the costs of seed packets. And I don't know that we need to put a dollar amount on that, just to say that because we still have, substantial amount of money, and I doubt that the cost for that would be, very high.
Ocean,
And
Wait, is this
Ocean
the new-
State Ocean State Job Lot has burpee seeds, and they're not that much.
right.
And also, if you go to the hardware store on 195, they have nice seeds too, and they're not crazy expensive. They're right when you come in the
Supply.
door.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mansfield
And-
Supply, yeah.
Yeah,
Is-
we
is
might-
I
this
don't
the
know
new-
whether,
I have a question though. Is this a new motion? Because we didn't vote on
we didn't vote on the Girl Scout.
plants, the Girl Scout.
Plan.
I'm so sorry, my fault.
That's okay.
Okay.
I only know because I have to write it down.
Yeah.
Catch up, Kathy.
Yikes. So we did get a second. We did do some discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Any abstain?
Now,
Okay,
well,
seed
the
packets.
The other question I have is, would Jennifer be the one to make suggestions and put together the packets? Or would we be doing that?
Like the type of seeds you mean?
Yeah, would she
I mean, she certainly could. I'm not.
suggest what would be good to?
Pick up. Yeah, I can speak to her, and if we make a motion just to expend money to cover the cost for seeds to have at the pollinator program,
Yeah,
then it'll be a matter of somebody getting reimbursed because somebody will have to pick them up, you know,
yeah,
whether it's Jennifer or, it's one of
whatever,
us.
yeah. But I don't, I mean, we could put a cap on it, but I can't imagine it's gonna be a lot of money.
No, it's not.
It would be a nice tie-in to the program, would be to be able to hand those out. And I think we could afford to pick up the cost.
Okay. All right, so do we want to make a motion to that effect, Carol?
Yeah, somebody make a motion.
Do it.
Doesn't have to be me, especially since, I generally support the pollinator program by picking up the cost of seeds for seed packets to be handed out on that occasion.
A second?
I'm not making a motion. Somebody else can.
Oh, is that your motion, or you want somebody to say a motion?
Somebody else
I
should
was
make
writing it
that
down. It
motion,
sounded like a
guys.
motion.
I'd like to move on Carol's supposed motion.
Okay, I get.
So that makes it Bob, huh? Okay.
But with no dollar amount attached.
Right,
I can't
yeah.
imagine it would cost more than somewhere, what, $30 at the max or something.
Max.
A bunch of packets.
And you
Bunch
can
of
also
packets.
get them, you can also get them at Tri-County when you go in there by the register on the wall. There's a whole bunch of seeds packets there. And no
Yeah.
matter which one of those organizations you provide, you support, we're doing something to help other people,
Community.
in the community.
It'd
Yeah.
be nice to do it locally if we could, either
Yes,
Tri-County or Mansfield Supply. That would be better than Ocean State or Dollar General,
Right.
obviously.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
does somebody want to take some initiative to do that? Maybe look and see what's available that's native and
Oh, boy.
Yeah, but maybe Jennifer could give some advice on that, because
Yeah.
what I have is a little paper, like a paper napkin full of seeds. I have no idea what's in there.
Oh,
It's supposed to be pollinator garden plants. So, it's something of that kind. So, maybe we could get some advice from Jennifer on what would be best to get. For that purpose.
do you want to speak to Jennifer? Do you want me to do it? What would you like? What's your pleasure?
Bee balm is a good one. You get a lot of insects on a bee balm plant, and I will probably have an extra one, but I don't think, when's this event happening?
It's going to be on the 19th of April.
That they won't be up yet.
Okay, so we're
But-
looking at
but-
seeds, though, rather than
seeds.
That's the
Seedlings.
Saturday of Easter
Yeah.
week.
You can find like anise hyssop seeds. I know Ocean State has those. They have this huge rack of stuff. Half of it's native plants.
I'll take responsibility for working on that with Jennifer, so we
Right.
can.
Okay.
We don't have a second for the motion, I don't think. I have Bob making the motion.
Yes, want a second yet?
Marilyn Schreiber will second it.
Thank you.
Marilyn, okay. Any more discussion?
Thanks for bailing me out, Marilyn.
Oh, thanks. I'll do it anytime.
Okay, all in favor? Say
Aye.
aye.
I-
Any opposed? Abstention? So moved. Okay, thanks, guys. All right, anything else, Steve, that we haven't spoken about for the library connection at this point?
No, I don't think so. No, it sounds like you got the $100 for the pollinator program. You're gonna pass on the Earth Day program, which is fine. Just want to make sure that's confirmed. And I think that's about it. but obviously, you know, new fiscal year, if there's anything that comes up in the summertime or fall that you guys would like to host, I can keep doing research. Deb couldn't make it tonight, but probably by the end of summer reading, we're gradually shifting a lot more back to having her do assistant director work and then do manage all the programming. I'm kind of slowly backing away and covering more of the directorial duties. So, um, but you can always reach out to me if something comes up and says, hey, you know, could we work with the Friends on this kind of program if they want to go 50-50 on it? Like if it's a higher price program. I know Connie's actually the treasurer for the Friends. So I know you already talked to her for the Scouts. That's just another avenue to coordinate.
Yeah, yeah.
But no, that's great. No, we really appreciate it.
Okay, and we appreciate all that you do and your willingness to collaborate with us. It's been a nice relationship. Thank you.
Yeah. No, thank you.
All right, moving on to Connecticut Land Conservation Council Conference. As noted, Laura and I will be attending on Saturday. And we'll bring information back to the commission on that. Parks and Rec Department, I met briefly with the new director. Her name's Rachel Signor. She's kind of just figuring out what, you know, her priorities are at the moment. It's a new job and there was nobody there to train her. But she's an experienced person. I believe she has a master's degree in recreation. She seems very capable. I did talk to her about in the past that we've done some collaboration with Parks and Rec, you know, on hiking, using the trail systems and so on. She was excited about, you know, thinking ahead at some point in working with us. So maybe we can have her come back when she's a little more settled and we can talk to her. Then other Wellington Day would be in May. You know, again, we talked about whether or not the commission wanted to try to be involved in some of these other events in town. I don't know if anybody's interested in maybe volunteering to set up a table at Wellington Day. I don't have details yet about when it is exactly, but if you want to think about it by April, I'm sure there'll be more details coming out.
Isn't that Memorial Day weekend usually?
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
The Saturday. of
Saturday of Memorial Day weekend, I think.
So if anybody's interested in, you know, volunteering to do something that day to set up a table that we could put out information for residents about conservation issues. You know, we could brainstorm and as needed, maybe make some flyers that we could give out, so on. The flea market, I heard at the recent Board of Selectmen meeting that the Federated Church is no longer going to be hosting that.
That's correct.
That's
Okay.
correct.
Yeah, which is
The
a shame.
scholarship, we just got our notice in the
Oh.
mail.
Oh, boy. Okay. So that was a big one, you know, in terms of being visible to the public. So that's not going to be something, but they said that they're working on other quote unquote events. They weren't specifying what that was. So perhaps it'll be something they'll collaborate with the town on as well. And then the 350th anniversary, you know, Bob, you had mentioned that was kind of on hold because James Callahan was really kind of facilitating that group. So maybe
Right.
once Rachel's got her feet wet, she'll be back.
Yeah, we still have a year to go. Well, 2 years actually.
So that's in 2027.
6 or 7, yeah. Yeah. I get it confused because the Historical Society is not sure if we're going to do anything for 250 for the country. So there's a bunch of stuff going on there that I get confused about the two different programs and what's happening when.
Okay, well,
So
it's not too-
Wellington's is the 27th. I just
Okay, thank you.
saw it
27.
on the town hall last night. Looked up the plaque. It was 1727.
1727.
Okay,
Excellent. Okay, yeah.
So that would be 300th though, wouldn't it?
That'd be 300, yeah.
350th, isn't it, Bob?
what's that 250 for the country?
That's for US.
But what for the town?
The
300.
town,
300.
300,
100. Oh, I'm sorry. I had
300.
Okay.
50. I'm making us really old.
yeah, those, yeah, 300th
Yeah.
Okay,
anniversary for the town.
all right.
No,
Um,
it's for the church.
Support for farmland preservation. So the last time we met, Jackie gave us a nice overview of two proposed farm ordinances that she's been working on, drafting the language. You all should have gotten copies of those.
Mhm.
And we did discuss some of the ideas we had about what recommendations the Conservation Commission would make. The first one, the proposed right to farm ordinance, basically is already in place by statute, but it would be reaffirming it if we had an ordinance that said that Wellington supported it. So it would just be reiterating what the general statute is. The second one, and Jackie, jump in anytime here to clarify if I'm not saying this right. The second one was the proposed farm tax exemption. So right now, the state mandates that the first $100,000 of assessed value on farm machinery, horses and ponies is tax exempt. But the state is allowing municipalities to increase that. They can increase it up to $350,000 in the assessed value. And when we talked last time, we were toying with the idea of recommending an increase from 100,000 to 250,000 assessed value for farm machinery. So that was kind of where we were. We didn't vote on anything, but the language was there in the draft document that Jackie had prepared. And then the second part of that ordinance would be farm buildings would have a tax exemption up to $500,000 in assessed value per building. That's what the state is now allowing. That's a new statute that allows municipality to exempt up to that amount. And for both of those exemptions, by the way, a farm has to show that they either have $15,000 in sales or $15,000 in expenses to qualify to get those tax exemptions. So we would be proposing to the town to adopt an ordinance that says that there would be an exemption on farm machinery and also on farm buildings. And that does not include the house that a farmer lives in.
Kathy, were we suggesting an amount on the farm building exemption also? That's below what the 500 limit,
500.
500,000?
The way that Jackie had drafted it last time, I think we had left it at 500,000. Is that correct, Jackie?
Yeah, that's what I had put in.
So
The-
it's
the
the
max.
250 for the equipment, but the full 500,000 that's permitted for the buildings.
Per building. So if you had let's say you had two barns, mega barns, and they were worth over $500,000
Okay.
as assessed value, you could write the tax exemption would be on the first 500,000 per building.
Per building,
Okay.
yeah.
And that's in the
Very-
language that I had sent out to everybody last meeting that we discussed a little bit.
I think I haven't downloaded that yet.
Okay. And then Jackie just sent us some additional, because one of our concerns, because there's a lot of concern in town about tax revenue and the grand list and so on. So the other thing we were talking about is what could potentially be the impact on the grand list if the town adopted these ordinances, because this is definitely going to be a question that comes up when we propose this to the Board of Selectmen, the Board of Finance, if it goes to town meeting, these will be questions. So not that we have to have all the answers, but it helps to be a little bit prepared. So Jackie had gotten in touch with the tax assessor. And Jackie, do you want to explain? I can bring up those documents.
Sure. Yep. So there's two documents. One of them is a list of farm machinery exemption recipients. There's only 6 recipients in town, which is pretty surprising to me. Two of them are family members, so I believe, you can
I'm trying to.
consider that the same property, the Seacar Road ones. So basically that's who's applying for and receiving a equipment exemption or horse or pony exemption currently. And all of the recipients are well under 100,000, which is the state mandated amount. So currently, our proposed ordinance would not, for the machinery, would not cost the town any more money currently. That's, one of these farmers or another farmer might come along and say, wow, now I can get that bigger tractor that I was wanting but didn't want to pay taxes on. So that's, potential, but that's kind of the goal, is to help farmers. If that's something that makes sense for their business, then they can maybe do it without as much tax burden in the future, especially with rising costs of everything. More modern machinery and more modern buildings are, going to be a lot more expensive. So then the other document is folks in town. So the people on the first list are included on the second list too. So it's everyone who has farm machinery in town, but people that are not necessarily applying for the exemption, either they don't qualify or they have not applied for whatever reason.
And there were what on that list, Jackie, about 20 people, was it? I'm trying to remember. I counted them.
Yeah, it looks like about 20. Doesn't number it.
And then, like you said, I did count it, 24.
1, 2, 2, 3, 24, just counted.
Yeah. Thank you. Oh, you're good. And then six of them are duplicates from the other list. So there would be 18 additional potential other people that may have farms that might be able to benefit from having some kind of an exemption from the buildings part of it as well. Correct?
Yeah, you would think that if they're not applying currently for the
machinery,
they're claiming equipment, but they're not claiming an exemption, you'd think that they didn't qualify currently.
They didn't have 15,000 in sales or expenses, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. I must say, I mean, I don't want to point anybody out in particular, but I was kind of surprised that Mrs. Mahaliak, because of the gross assessment on her machinery, I was kind of surprised that they wouldn't want to try to claim because they do so much haying. So
I think she's on that. I think she's on the list.
On the second list?
the other one.
On the first list, yeah.
On the first list. Oh, she's
Oh,
on the
you know
second one.
what? You're right.
Yep.
My bad. Sorry. Yep, you're right. So
that list of 6 people would definitely be folks who would also be eligible for the building exemption. If they qualify for one, then they qualify for the other. But depends what they have for buildings. And for the buildings, they have to be used entirely for agricultural purposes. So if it's like a combination garage and barn, it wouldn't qualify. It does qualify for employee housing, but not the owner housing.
do you know if anybody has employee housing in town?
I would guess not. Out of that list, I'm thinking no, but
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's really helpful. I mean, obviously we don't, unless we were to go up and look on this particular list, obviously. I mean, people can choose not to apply even if they qualify, right?
right. Yeah.
Yeah. But I would assume most people would, especially if they had some expensive machinery, they would have tried to apply. So we're probably talking about a handful of people that could benefit from the building exemption.
But another reason to do this is to, bring potentially more farmers into town, because that's a really small list.
Yep.
I know definitely compared to other towns, I've been to the Ashford Ag Commission meetings and there's 6 people just on their Ag Commission every week, or every month. And that's definitely not all the farms in town. So
Right.
I think we could definitely be bringing more farming into town and be more welcoming to farmers.
Yep. Those are, I mean, really good bullet points to, kind of keep in our minds as we move forward to bring this to the selectmen. And as I mentioned, I'm feeling like I'm hearing people supportive of it. I just was concerned about trying to bring this forward during budget season. And maybe just waiting until that's over, probably by May.
I think that's a good idea.
But I think that's a good idea too.
But also the people want to have a nice environment and open space. And one way to do that, which also if you attract farmers, you'd be generating some taxable income, while at the same time helping to keep more open space and less residential and commercial development, and less residential development in any case. So, it's all good. But I agree, I think the timing is not, right in the midst of budget,
I
time
hope
is
so.
not a good time.
So I think, so one of the things we might want to do though, is we might want to vote on what we want to suggest recommend the amount of the exemption. We could actually vote on that and then just start to make sure we polish up the, how we're going to present this to them and the language. I think Jackie did a great job with, outlining the particular rationale for wanting to do this and talking about what the ordinance is, what the Connecticut statutes are. We might want to come up with a actual model of the ordinance with that takes that language and the amount and plugs it right in. Because the more prepared this is, sometimes the faster things move through. So that's something we could work on as well. Any other thoughts? Do we want to consider voting on what the language would say in terms of the amount of the exemption that we're recommending?
Sure.
Okay. All right. So under the tax exemption for the farm machinery, horses and ponies, currently the state mandate is the first 100,000. And we can vote to go up to as much as up to 350,000. As I mentioned, Jackie had put into the language originally 250,000, but that, we don't have to stay at that level, so.
What would be the benefit of going of 250 versus 350?
It would potentially exempt more of the value of their machinery, yeah.
Right, but I'm thinking as far as, because we're talking 250,000, why weren't we talking 350,000?
Well, to be honest, that was a mistake on my part. I had meant to say 250,000 additional, and that's just
To
Oh,
add,
okay.
so it would be 350,000.
Yeah.
Okay,
I wasn't gonna be too nitpicky about it because obviously, according to the list, we don't have anyone too close to even 100,000. But I think it just as far as planning for the future and not having to revisit this with another ordinance in the future, if it seems like there's a need to go higher, I think it would be most beneficial to go with the maximum amounts. Ashford just updated their ordinances. They had the previous thresholds and they've just updated to be at the maximum
Did
for
they-
both.
they added the farm building one in as well?
Yeah, they already had the farm building exemption for 100,000, and when the state allowed them to increase it to 500,000, they did that as well as increasing the equipment exemption.
Okay. That's already in place. That's been voted on by the town?
Yep, that went into place in the fall, I think, or late summer maybe.
Okay. I mean, that's helpful to be able to tell, the townspeople that, our local regionally, this is being adopted, so.
Mhm.
Do you want to make a motion, Jackie?
Sure, I would make a motion to move forward with ordinances for farm and machinery and buildings at the maximum allowable amount according to the state statute.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
State statute.
Yeah,
Any
that's
any
good. Then you have to change it. Sorry.
Any discussion? Any more discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Abstentions? Okay, so moved on that. And then we have the proposed right to farm ordinance. Like I said, it's just a reaffirmation of what's already in the statute. Jackie, would you like to make a motion in that regard, or someone else?
Sure, I can make it. So I move that we move forward to propose a right to farm ordinance in for the town of Wellington.
Okay, second.
I'll second.
Okay, Bob, thank you. All in favor? Or any more discussion?
Aye.
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 All right. I'm sorry. I missed who motioned.
Okay, that was Jackie and Bob.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And that was so okay.
Jackie, you want to restate it again for Laura?
No, I think I got that, but I was expecting to have an amount. It just doesn't have an amount. It's just a right to farm ordinance.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay. Got it.
Okay. All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstained? So moved. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Jackie, on that. And so we'll continue to just massage the language a little bit, not the language, but the formatting perhaps, and get a template ready with the word Wellington on it and the exemption amounts and so on, so that we can bring that forward as a package. Is that something you'd be willing to work on, or how do you feel about that?
Getting a model a draft ordinance.
A draft ordinance, so it'd be like the models you showed us that had
Yep,
the names of
just-
the draft?
Yeah, just plugging in the right info.
Yeah.
Yeah, I should be able to do that.
Okay, terrific, thank you.
Yep.
All right. See if there's anything else on that. Anybody have any ideas for farmland preservation, how to support that beyond the ordinances right now? One of the things, when we go to talk about the economic development strategic plan, there's some verbiage in there that's very supportive of farmland protection and supporting farmers. So I thought that was a nice connection. And we could, certainly advocate for that in the strategic plan. Properties management. Fenton Ruby Park and Drobny Sanctuary. Chris went out and did a little bit of tree cutting. Another tree had come down across the Taylor Pond Trail. Other than that, I haven't heard about anything else going on out there. Oh, well, I shouldn't say that. Patty, you reported about the steps moving on one of the bridges. And that was probably
Yes.
because the
Yep.
water. And so Chris and I went out and we got that back in place, but that boardwalk probably
Yeah.
need replacing this year. It's a little wonky.
Mhm.
It's the one almost at the end of the Taylor Pond Trail if you go clockwise.
And we can use some of our ARPA funds
Mhm.
for that.
Yeah, maybe we can get out there this spring,
Did anybody doing Taylor Pond see the birdhouse that was propped up against a tree? Bob, it was right near that branch, part of a tree that was going over I think you were the one that cut it like a year or two ago. Do you remember?
Is it a
Not guilty.
Is it a dock box? Is it the big ones, Patty?
Yeah, it's the big one. Yes.
Yeah, I think Chris pulled that out of the water when he was down there and he just set it aside because it was really waterlogged.
Okay. Okay. That makes sense. I saw it propped up against a tree today and I was wondering what the story was.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is really a good segue to let you know that Joe Philippe contacted me. You know how he and his son Nathan have been cleaning out the wood duck boxes,
For years.
right?
Mhm.
And putting up new boxes and so on. I did tell him about the box we found. He said he doesn't need it because they have the max boxes out. That probably was something that got swept away in the past and just finally surfaced. But he said when they cleaned the duck boxes out, all 7 of them had evidence of nesting from either
Ah,
wood
that's
duck
great.
or hooded mergansers. So
Really? That's great.
yeah,
Hmm.
he was excited.
I've seen them go in and out of it. It's amazing.
Hmm. Yeah, this is
Yeah.
the time of the year they're gonna start nesting, so.
Yeah.
Heading on to timber harvest, we had talked about potential for stand 7, which is the one that's Ruby Trail is on, and then stand 9, where the Weigold Trail is. And Austin has spoken to us extensively last meeting about some of the recommendations. He and Jackie have been out together. Jackie, it seemed like you concurred with some of his recommendations as well.
Yeah, we had kind of discussed all of those while we were out there and kind of came to an agreement about that.
Okay. And then the sticky wicket was, where would we put the landing for the Weigo Trail? If we were doing a timber harvest on that property, where would that go? And Austin said he would go out and flag an area that we could look at. And I hadn't heard back from him, so I did text him earlier today. He said he was actually on his way out this afternoon to do that. So what I'd like to suggest is we go out and take a look at that. And then we can decide as a commission if we're agreeable as to moving forward with that based on where the landing would be. Okay, and then we'll have to brainstorm about how to educate the public about, a potential for a timber harvest in the park. So, Jackie, would you be willing to meet me out there sometime in the next week or so?
Yeah, I should be able to do that. Yeah,
Okay.
depending on the day.
All right, if anybody else wants to be part of that, just let me know and we could kind of figure out a time to go out. And obviously you can go out yourself. I think he said he was gonna flag it with pink flags. It would be somewhere along the Burma Road, access road.
Yeah, let me know when you go out. I'd love to join you.
Okay, great. All right, we already talked about the pollinator garden. I was gonna ask Jackie, last year you did put some mulch on it before.
Yeah, I put wood chips down. I think it was before the Girl Scouts came in and did their annuals.
Yeah, so the Girl Scouts cleaned it up first and then you.
Right, yes, they cleaned it up and then we mulched it and then I think they came back later and put in some annuals.
Yep. Would you be willing to do that again if they cleaned it up? Would you be able to do the mulch again or?
Yep, that's fine.
Okay, awesome. I'll tell Connie. All right. And let's see, moving on to the Petix Sanctuary. The closing happened yesterday. The property is now in the hands of Willington.
Yay!
So we have some things to talk about how we're gonna move forward on that. Number one, we probably should request of the Board of Selectmen whether or not we have management over that parcel. That be officially added to the Fenton Ruby Park and that we have management authority over it as a commission.
Yeah, or just confirm that our management authority over the park includes the entire park, including the newly acquired parcel. It's a reaffirmation, I think, because we already have management authority for Fenton Ruby Park, and this is officially become a part of the park. So I think it's just a reaffirmation of our control and
Okay,
management authority.
okay,
That's
because
fine.
it was
Ask
part of
me.
the town meeting, the appropriation was, it did say to add the Petix property to the Fenton Ruby
Right.
Park.
Yeah, because that was in the motion
Turn that
at the town meeting.
Okay, so I'll put together a letter and ask to be on the agenda at the Board of Selectmen meeting within the next month or so. Just to affirm that we have management authority over that addition. Is
Yeah.
that okay?
Yeah.
With
Yeah,
everybody?
I
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
think that's just a technicality, actually,
I know, it is.
but it's
But
good.
Okay. And the next step, we're still from the title search that the attorney did and some of the land record research that I did. It was interesting because the Pedex property was actually originally a part of a larger parcel that contained all of the subdivided pieces in Ashford on that road. And the town of Ashford discontinued that road before there was any subdivision of the parcels. So the 7 acres in Wellington was part of 29 acres in Ashford. And then it was subdivided by the landowner who kept 7 acres in Wellington, 3 acres in Ashford, and he sold the rest. But technically that road at that point was discontinued and it was actually coming through his property and he was using it to access the Pedex property. So the more we talked about this with the attorney, and also the fact that people that have owned the Pedex property have over the years, because there's been multiple landowners there, they have been using that right of way basically to get to the Pedex property. The attorney feels that we have a legitimate right, as the town has a legitimate right to use that access, and that we don't have to get permission from all the landowners. But we have discussed that it would be, the best thing would be to try to bring the landowners back together for a meeting with Peter Tanaka, Troy from Public Works, myself, Mike D'Amato, and to talk to them about, you know, how we can work together, because they obviously have big concerns about that road being opened again so that people can get in and out of there with vehicles. You know, they're afraid that if we start to use it for the town's use, it would never be public use again, because it's not a public road, but the town has the right to access it for its own need. And so we're going to try to arrange a meeting in the next week or two with the landowners to see if we can get them to, you know, come to an agreement so we don't have to litigate this somehow, so that we have we're good neighbors. So that's where that's at. And otherwise we go to Plan B and we have to go up Burma Road to get rid of the camp. So signage, I sent you a draft of a potential verbiage for the sign. Let me bring that up. And this was based on a couple things. One was when Mrs. Pedex and I were communicating back and forth about her willingness to sell this to the town and the price of $27,500. She said she wanted to be sure that the town would agree to put a sign on the property, and that the sign would acknowledge both her husband and herself and be called something like a preserve or a sanctuary. And she also said in her letter that it was a special place for her and her husband that they both loved, and they wanted to make sure that people who use the park and people that read the website would know that. In the purchase and sales agreement that we came up with Mrs. Pedex, it did specify that the town would have to put a sign, would have to designate the property as the Dean and Laura W. Pedex Sanctuary, and that the town would be sure that they would maintain that sign in the future. So that was in the purchase and sales. It didn't specifically say that we had to have this extra little quotation about it being a special place, but it was part of what she had said to me in her letter when she agreed to the price that we offered. So that was why I added it in. I haven't sent this to Mrs. Pedex at all. This was just for us to discuss and see what we thought about the formatting and the language. So comments.
My thought, is it a title? Because of the capitals, the capital letters,
Yeah, the,
or is it a,
well, maybe if I read the thing from the purchase and sales agreement, the language that's in the purchase and sales agreement says, notwithstanding the fact that it will be conveyed separately and encumbered by a separate deed restriction, the premises to be named the Dean and Laura W. Pettick Sanctuary shall be considered to be a part of the town's Fenton Ruby Park. A sign indicating the sanctuary's name shall be installed and maintained at the town's expense. Furthermore, the premises will be identified and acknowledged on the town's website. I think, well, a couple of things that are important is that I think we can use funds from the appropriation, town meeting appropriation, because that is a provision in the agreement of sale that it would fall under, since the town meeting resolution said to appropriate up to 42,000 from the open space fund to use for the purchase of the Pettick's property and associated costs, including legal services and property remediation. So that, since that condition of creating the signage and keep maintaining it is one of the conditions of the sale, we should be able to charge the costs of the signage against the town meeting appropriation from the open space fund.
Yeah, we had set aside 27.5 for the land, 7,000 toward the cost for the remediate, or I'm trying to remember if it was 7,000 for the cost of the remediation or 7,000 for the attorney, but the other value was 750 for either one of those. So I don't think we'll spend up to that amount for either of those items. So there should be extra money to be able to do a sign with the open space funds.
I think I could prefer the language added to Ruby Park, March, and the exact, what was today's date, Kathy? Was the
It was yesterday, Carol. So it would be
yesterday, so it'll be the 18th, yeah. Because if looking at the other thing you sent that showed the plaques that are at the entrance to the park. And then the question is, where would the sign be put on the Pettick's property itself, rather than at the entrance to the park, since it's such a remove, and perhaps because they're considering it such a special place, that whether the sign would go on the 7-acre parcel, as opposed to at the park entrance where the other signage is for the other sections of the park.
Any other thoughts on that in terms of where to put the sign? And we haven't decided what the sign would look like yet, but
yeah,
but all good thoughts, Carol.
I would suggest that you put it somewhere near the juncture of the old roads.
Mhm. Mhm.
You know, there are a number of people, myself included, that walk up that abandoned part of the road up the hill, or bushwhack through the parcel that we logged several years ago. And it seems like you're more apt to come to be able to see that sign there, as opposed somewhere along the length of Lustig Road, as it heads up to the town monument for between Willington and Ashford.
Yeah, certainly there's not going to be many people going down to that monument toward Ashford border, because that's not going to be open to the public beyond that.
Right.
So the junction where you're describing would be more likely where people would be walking up, or once they're on the property, they may be around the pond because the pond will be more open.
Mhm.
Well, do we want to consider a small trail off of the top of Ruby to run across back part of that upper parcel across the road and,
Yeah.
lead people to that pond?
Yeah.
Yeah, a connector
There's-
trail, a
there's-
connector trail essentially from
Yeah.
one of the
There is a
existing.
trail now
There is a,
that-
yeah,
Yeah. it's
that
like-
comes off the red trail. People have been using it, I know.
Yeah.
From Burma, right when you turn on Burma, when it turns right there, there's a well-worn path that hits the red trail.
Mhm.
That's already
I think-
there.
So
Yeah,
we
and
can make an official trail and blaze it.
right. But if we want to focus, I'm not sure I like the section in the middle. I know it's very special to them, but I'm not sure that I would prefer not to see that I know that I don't know, I think similar language to what is on the other side, the date it was named after and when it was added to the park. But
Is
no.
there room on the rock in Burma to add it right there, right at the parking lot or not?
That's
It would have to
probably-
go here probably to be in the front, which, it could really get a little obliterated down here.
Kathy, you're not sharing it.
Oh, it's not shared? I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Let me go
Okay.
back. Sorry. Let me see what I can do to share it. Sorry.
That's right,
Probably, I gotta share it. Is that there now?
Yes.
There you
There you
go.
go.
Got it.
Okay, sorry. Thank you for telling me that. Then obviously I wasn't sharing those other things for what Jackie was describing. I can see that, but you couldn't, sorry.
Well, how about adding something under the Fenton Ruby Park? I mean, there's enough there for a rectangular, a smaller rectangular
Mhm.
sign without getting too close to the ground there.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
mean,
This is nothing to really do so much with the commission in a way, but I know the deceased, his parents are very local and they come every week to walk to Taylor Pond and sit there. And that's as far as they get because they're elderly, but they'll never see it up at, I don't think at Burma, but I do know they're often there. And they're pretty excited that it's closed, the property. So, but that's just an aside.
Right.
I like Bob's idea about, can you add that and sanctuary and Pettick Sanctuary to the sign at the road?
I think we can. I mean, it's not going to be as big as the other two, but it's not as big a parcel.
Right, but I think if we were just to say Dean and Laura W. Pettick Sanctuary added to Fenton Ruby Park, March 18th, 2025, and leave out the things in the middle, because it's, Kathy was checking on the price, if we were to do a bronze plaque like the others, and if we were going to put it at that location, we would probably want to have it in the same kind of sign as the others. It is going to be fairly expensive, and while we have the funds available, we don't want to spend more than we need. I don't think we need. I think we can make it briefer by omitting the section in the middle, and just that's closer to.
Let me just read to you the letter that Mrs. Pettick had sent me. This was last year when she agreed to the price. I just want to read it out loud to you. I want to thank you and the town of Wellington for all the work you've done to help make this happen. It's overwhelming and incredible. I will be willing to accept the town's offer of $27,500 on the condition that the town will cover all the closing costs of the purchase. So the amount I will end up with will actually be $27,500. I would also like a guarantee that the town would designate the section purchased from me with a special name, like the Drobny Sanctuary mentioned on your website, which would also be included on your it would be included on your website and on a sign on the property that would stand up to the elements to be installed and maintained at the town's expense. It's important to me that the property be added to the Fenton Ruby Park and be kept in a natural state for wildlife habitat and public recreation, and also that visitors to the park and to the town's website know that it is a place that was special to my husband and me. I would like the name to include both of our names, something along the lines of the Dean and Laura Pettick Sanctuary, because it was a place that we went together and we thought of it as a symbol of our love. The amount you are offering is very low, but the idea of it becoming a sanctuary is powerfully moving to me. She says it's very hard for me to even write this because the thought of it is making me cry. So, I mean, I understand, we didn't have it in our purchase and sales agreement per se. But I feel like at some level there, if we can find a way to honor that wish, whether there's something else that's put on the property itself, if we put a plaque. at the be-
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
How about if we were to just say their special place
Mm-hmm,
added to Fenton Ruby Park?
mm-hmm.
Yeah, you've got both of their names up there, so that's the beginning. But I think it's lovely as it is, but we certainly want to acknowledge Mrs. Pettick's decisions that she would like us to take up, but we haven't taken them up yet. But I think I understand where she's coming from.
Oh, I understand what she's coming from too, but I think we can indicate, we could modify the wording to express that.
I think I think the idea, if we went with the signage as it's displayed now and put a sign on the property, take what we have here and massage that special place, their special place, and have that on the bronze plaque
At the rock.
at the rock.
At Burnham, yes,
Yeah.
that's exactly what yep.
Right.
that-
I mean,
Yep.
we can do both. I
The
mean,
money's there, right? It's
it
been
is.
designated.
We can have signage, because I think there will, realistically, I think there will be people who will walk in down the current access, and as long as it's only pedestrians, I don't think there will be any problems with the neighbors. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong about that, but there are places to park that are closer to this property that are, so for pedestrian access, I don't think that, and we can certainly put something there. And if we're putting in trails, we would want to have probably a box for a trail, so we can put signage in both places. But I just think that just saying their special place, would that be sufficient?
We can certainly run it by her, I can redo this so it says their special place, and ask her how she feels about that phrase, if that's enough.
Are you
Well,
comfortable with doing that?
Well,
Because
I think that a bridge thing would be all right for the bronze plaque. There's no reason why we can't do a wooden sign and have everything that's on this that we're looking at now.
Yeah,
Right.
we could do this. This could be done on a sign from the metal sign for the on-site sign. We could get something from Signs of All Kinds that's in aluminum, the metal signage.
Yeah, we could.
That could have that.
good.
So we
Good.
have it in both places, but have if we're putting a bronze plaque near the park entrance, that it would be somewhat briefer and in somewhat the same format in terms of the added to the park and the date. And the title, all parties agree on the title of this, as Dean and Laura W. Pettick Sanctuary. And perhaps we could reduce the wording because the bronze plaque is going to be quite expensive.
I think the plaque is gonna be, it's based on size, like the width and height.
Yeah,
And I can double check, we can, throw some different sizes at, we can measure and see what would fit appropriately
Oh.
there to go along with the other ones, and then, I can send that off to Jeff and ask him, even put some verbiage on it and say, can you give us a quote on this? What would it be for a bronze plaque? And what would it be to put it on? This is, the signage, the same kind of signage that we've used on the Mason Road properties, basically.
Absolutely.
This green, it's basically an aluminum sign, and it has letters that are cut out, laser cut, and then they're somehow adhered to that. I mean, it's gonna last a while, but it's not gonna last as long as the bronze. The bronze will be forever.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the bronze, let me do this, because we don't have to make any decisions right now about anything. We've got lots of time to have a sign made and put things up. I'll go back and I'll reduce this to just one line, their special place. And add it to Fenton Ruby Park, March 18th, 2025.
Mhm.
And then I'm gonna send it back out to everybody. So you know what the verbiage is, right? We don't know how it's gonna look on a bronze. Maybe Jeff can do some kind of a mock-up, like a picture of what it would look like in the bronze, I don't know. And we can measure out the size and ask him for some quotes, because the size that's on there now, Carol, I don't know that you mentioned what we're talking about for price, right?
No, I did not. No, I didn't, but
Yeah.
just from your conversation with Jeff, it's gonna be,
Yeah, it's like about anywhere between $1,200 to $1,500 for that size plaque.
Wow.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. And then we're gonna have to have somebody install it, because the way that the plaques are adhered on there now, it looks like part of the rock material was chipped away.
Sandblasted.
Okay, removed, and then we'd have to have somebody who could mount the sign. I don't know what that would cost or who would do it.
There's somebody in town that does that. If you contact Peter Tanaka, he can tell you what the guy's name is that does that.
Okay, thank you. All right.
So is this sign going to be further up the road if you hike to it? Because the more it's set away somewhere, the greater the chances of somebody deciding to, do something to the sign. It's probably very small, but we all know that there's people who like to do vandalism just for the fun of it.
Yeah.
I
And I think the further up the road it is, well, first of all, maybe it'll save the sign because people don't want to hike all the way up there, or the opposite, they want to go see where it is. And if that's the case, we just have to take the chance that somebody doesn't vandalize it.
No?
I'm always surprised when I'm up there, going on to Amadon Road. There's always somebody coming through from Ashford. It's traveled more than I thought, and again, because there's already that trail that's bushwhacked through, but it's a very clear trail that's getting walked on enough as you'll see, it's a trail.
Yeah.
So
No,
I think,
there's houses up there, Patty. I don't know.
yeah,
There's
I've
a
even
small division,
I-
subdivision up there.
I've shot across it. I've gone into it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of people coming through there, I think, again, but it's that Ashford.
I would expect there's some people from Ashford who commonly cross that way to get into Fenton Ruby Park. I know.
Yes,
Our current
and they
steward,
do.
one of our
That's what I'm
current- our
saying.
current
That's what I'm
steward
saying.
from-
They do that.
Yeah.
They made a trail from Burma Road, almost across from the house on the new property that connects right to the red trail.
Right.
Yep. And so I'm thinking but I'm thinking the bronze plaque at the park entrance would be appropriate, because that's consistent with what we've done in the past for the as the park has grown. And then we formalize a trail that gets from the main part of the park to this property. And we could put a second sign that's a less permanent type of sign. That on different format, we would have a sign post there at what's the entrance as the trail crosses into it. The people are going to be focusing most, I think, on we're going to provide access, I assume, to the ponds. And so as you go off the road into follow the trail in toward the pond, we could install a post with a signage here and perhaps more extensive language.
Okay. And that sign doesn't have to be as large as the ones on the Knowlton.
No,
And
it doesn't, because it's not, we don't have to worry about all of the language that's required because there's no state funding involved.
Right.
So we could have another sign there and perhaps have trail maps for the entire park available at that point also. And some of the costs of that could appropriate for any costs with trail development and signage, we could probably take from ARPA money also.
Well, no, because we have to use it at,
But some of if there were lumber
would,
involved,
yeah.
or if we want signage, or we wanted to put a box for trail maps or whatever, that kind of stuff, any of the costs that could be charged to Willards, we could take from that.
Yep.
Yeah, but because I think it's really be an extension of what the intent was for the use of the ARPA money.
Right.
Just basically to encourage people to get out and walk trails and stuff like that. So that's how we got the ARPA money, on encouraging people to be in the out of doors.
Great. Well, I think I'll work on the signage and then send it around to folks with the new verbiage, and then we can send it to Mrs. Pettix and just see if she's okay with that as well. I won't make any promises to her about bronze signs or, what the signs are going to look like on the property. I'm just going to say, this is the verbiage we're thinking of for the sign.
Yeah.
And then we can figure out, if we're going to move forward with 2 signs. Does that sound reasonable?
Yeah, because yeah.
Oh, okay. The other thing we have to think about, we don't have to go into any depth today, but because we're adding it onto the park, we're going to have to change the maps that we have of the park.
Oh,
We have to change
geez.
the brochure
And the brochure, yeah.
change the website. So those will all be works in progress. And also the park plan, because it does not include it, Pettix property. So those are all tasks we'll need to do. If people want to think about how they might be able to help support that, take on a part of that role or job, that would be helpful to think about for next meeting. So, all right. Anything else on that before I move on to Knowlton?
Yep.
Okay. Knowlton Preserve, there's a timber harvest that's going to be started, and we already kind of talked about this on the northern border of the Knowlton property. So I saw that they had brought in the logging equipment the other day, and I went out with Chris and we just walked the boundary on that side to make sure it was well flagged before they start the timber harvest, and they've done a really good job of flagging it. It seems they're right on the border, they're not onto the property. But I did notice that the signs that we've put up in the past, a lot of them have popped off the trees. So we want to think about putting some new boundary signs up on that border at some point. So I'm just mentioning that for a task to do. We may have to buy some more signs as well, the round ones or the square ones that we put up. I'll take some inventory when I'm at the town office building and see if, at their next meeting, we'll have to appropriate funds for that. Town development. Anything, Bob, from planning and zoning that you want to share?
No, our next meeting, we're going to start talking about the economic development study that was done.
Yeah.
I would encourage everybody, I think, Kathy, you sent that to everybody?
Yeah.
read through it. It's still a draft form. I think Economic Development Commission is going to try to boil it down. I don't know exactly how. I guess that's part of the conversation they're going to start having with other commissions. It's pretty lofty, and it requires all different parts of the government to be able to work together in order to facilitate that. There's 3 plans in there that look at develop 3 different types of developments that would bring substantial revenue to the town to help offset property taxes. They also talk a lot about other things in town, and one of those is what Kathy sent us about how Conservation Commission can get involved with that. So it's a work in progress. I think sooner or later they're going to have a try to reach out to the community to have community feedback, trying to figure out what kind of businesses are realistic to come to Wellington and how the general public can be involved in this, so it's not a shock when some business comes into town and people are running scared. But it's a very ambitious proposal, and it's something that Wellington really hasn't come to terms with in the past. So that's all I'll say right now.
And one of the things that I noticed is they managed to talk about recreational opportunities without once mentioning Fenton Ruby Park. And that the section where they that somehow or other the Knowlton Yukon Forest Knowlton North property and the and Knowlton and Talmadge ended up under agriculture. And when they listed the state forest, they left out the largest chunk of state forest in town, which is they didn't mention Nipmuc Forest at all, which is almost 1,000 acres in Wellington. That's up on the Stafford end of town. Were not mentioned at all. They mentioned the Nye-Holman, but there are other but there are a couple of state-owned parcels along the river, the Willimantic River, that provide access for fishing. So there, I think there's some things that could be massaged in that area, and talking about recreation and recreational opportunities, and maybe a little bit of more clarification. If you look at this map, I don't know if you can see it. You won't be. I can't get you. But I don't know if you can see it. No. Well, well.
The open space map, Carol?
That's the open space map. The 2 big chunks up here that are Nipmuc Forest. I don't think they have trails necessarily, but then Nye-Holman is most of the access there is along the river, Willimantic River also.
It's mostly on the Tolland side, I think, that it's accessible, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mostly.
But it's close. Yeah.
But there are a couple of small properties along the river that were basically acquired for fishing access, as far as I know. And we've walked those. They're down along Route 30, off of Route 32, going north towards Stafford, and above 74.
And the Roaring Brook access for fishing.
Yeah, Roaring Brook access also for fishing.
Yeah.
So I think there's some things that could be done to get things in so they're more properly placed in what's been drafted with regard to tourism and recreation and agriculture so that they are a little bit more accurate, and more complete, and in how that's worded, and what they point to, because certainly of the recreational facilities in town, the one that's used the most for outdoor recreation is definitely Fenton Ruby Park, which, as I said, is not mentioned at all. And
There, and I'll have to go back and look to see if there's a more specific section that's just on recreation, Carol.
yeah,
And if they were added in there. I haven't read the whole document that
I
thorough,
haven't read the whole document either, just this portion, but
but those are
it's
good.
interesting, it named all the little ponds, but a number of those ponds, I believe, are on private property and not accessible to the public. So that the ones that are, do have access to the public are the rivers. Hall's Pond is only limited access to the public. And a lot of the others are on private property, so they would not be available for public recreation purposes, as far as I know.
Yeah. Well, maybe we can, list the ones that are open to the public and could potentially draw, ecotourism or outdoor recreation, and
Yeah.
maybe make a suggestion that they create a map that identifies where those particular.
Which parcels are accessible to the public, and how they can access them. What properties, what state-owned properties and town properties would provide access. Some of
And
these.
one of the things that the Conservation Commission might consider getting involved in is creation of scenic roads in town. That's something that seems to draw people.
Yep.
Good thought. Okay. Any other thoughts, having read just these 5 pages, which is just a little snippet? Jackie, do you have any comments on the agriculture side of things? I don't know if you had a chance to read it.
Yeah, I will have to look at it closer because I did not have a good chance to read this.
Yeah, we have lots of time. One of the things I liked about it, as I mentioned earlier, there's a paragraph that talks about developing new ways to incentivize farmers to pass their working lands down to the next generation of farmers and those wishing to expand their farming operations. It's critical to the future of the agricultural sector. So it does point out in this plan that the agriculture opportunities in town really haven't been tapped. It talks about things like how you can attract people from a tourism standpoint by having farm stands, farmers markets, places where they sell. They have a picture in here, for example, of a storefront that's all full of mums. How do you attract people to stop at your businesses when they're passing through? So I thought that there was some good opportunities for us to be supportive of those parts of the plan and then add some stronger ideas.
That's a picture of Todd Wright's farm stand.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Where is?
I was trying, that's on the other side of the river, right?
On River Road,
In
South
Tolland.
River Road in Tolland.
Holland. Okay.
What's that been closed like 2 or 3 years now?
2 years now.
2 years.
Yeah.
And I miss it so much.
I know. Me too. Me
Yeah.
too.
Jackie, you're gonna have to start one locally.
But she does have a little farm stand.
She's gonna have to expand.
Yeah, but it is interesting, the sort of the way that there is stuff in this agriculture section, and that's where they talk about the Yukon forest and all of that. But it seemed a little bit out of place to have that under agriculture at that point. And I think most of that information probably came off of the map, the back of the map that has the information about. It was pretty much the same language that's on the back of the map for Knowlton and Talmadge.
I'm thinking, Carol, some of that might have been, I know that the consultant was reaching out to Yukon to talk to them about how they partner with local towns. You know, they have the School of Agriculture and so on. Maybe that was why Yukon kind of started to get highlighted there and he got carried away with the.
Yeah, but I think that we can, things could be massaged a little bit better if they wanted, if they're talking about the attractions for recreational, outdoor recreation. They could be, and there's actually there's no mention in that point of the playing fields and things like that. So I don't know how the whole thing's gonna fit together, but it did seem a little bit kind of awkwardly placed. Things were awkwardly placed in some ways.
That's because they haven't found out how wonderful Wellington is. They're all sitting in their little offices and they're trying to get this done and they're just probably just don't even know how cool Wellington is, because there are parts of it that are just purely beautiful.
Right, and they actually wanted
say that.
one of my favorite, the Moose Meadow Road is one of the most beautiful view sheds around as you come up
Absolutely.
Moose Meadow Road, and that would be primed for being a scenic road.
I'm curious, does anybody know how well is it an Airbnb? Is it Bluebird on Jared Sparks Road? I mean, they're certainly drawing
By
people in.
Chapitas, right?
No, well,
No.
yeah, by Chapitas, yeah.
Yeah.
down
Oh,
the-
bye.
Just passed, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she said they do.
Oh,
Chapitas said
good.
They have events and things, music and.
They have
Okay.
weddings, receptions, things like that. They pitch a tent. They've got 2 Airbnb places on site.
I thought you just had the treehouse.
No, there's a loft above one of the barns.
Oh, okay,
Oh, interesting.
good.
Well, I just will, tell you this, I had an opportunity to speak to the consultant. He was reaching out to different people in town that were either chairs of commissions, boards, business owners. I mean, he came on site, he was out here in Wellington multiple times. He actually stayed in hotels locally to see what the vibe was for that. He really toured around the town. Jackie, I think he talked to you as well about stuff from the agriculture side.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, he stopped by our farm stand one day.
Okay. So I mean, I think, just so you know, I think that he did spend some time and, wanted to kind of get a really good feel for what the character of Wellington was, so.
Yeah.
All right.
Was
Well,
it?
thank you for the feedback. I wrote that down, all the comments. If there's more, just send them to me as you start, if you read through either these 5 pages or you start to read through the document and think there's something that conservation should have some comments on, just send me an email and I'll collect them all and I'll put them together to give feedback to EDC. Okay. All right. Moving on from there, open space opportunities. So we got to take the Pettix property off of that list. And now the historic parcel on Jared Sparks Road. I did, as I told you last time, the landowner asked me I had sent her a letter last year and I called her and talked to her about it. She said she was going to talk to her family and she never got back to me. So I followed up again with a phone call and she said, can you send me a text or an email with what you're thinking? So I put together a letter that was a little bit more detailed and I did send it to her via email. And it did outline some possible ways that the Conservation Commission and the town of Wellington could potentially work with her and her family. And it listed some options such as, looking into a purchase of the property, a conservation easement on the property, or, a donation of the property, which could be a tax advantage. So I just kind of listed those, no promises of any kind, but, these are some potential options that we could discuss further if you and your family are interested. So we'll see if we get any feedback on that one.
That's great. Good. Ooh.
Yeah.
So,
Although the way things are going, the options for encouraging acquisition of open space with federal funding certainly don't look right.
Yeah, I don't know what's gonna happen to the open space grant fund from the state. Most of that's bonded state money, but they may
Yeah.
get some funds.
Yeah. But
And they're really slow.
Mhm.
Oh, they're really slow.
Well, that's the thing you have to tell landowners, if you're going to have to go for a grant, it's gonna be a process.
lengthy process, yeah.
It's
Not a-
not like 2 weeks. It's not even a month. It can be months
Right,
because they've got all these people in Connecticut who know about it, and it's a really good deal. And they're probably swamped, and they probably don't have enough people to look at all the paperwork all at once.
yeah. And they have timing. They only do this once a year, so you have to time your application to meet that. And if you miss that deadline, then you gotta wait a whole nother year.
Yeah.
You know, it's too bad they don't have an opportunity. If you could just put it in several times, different opportunities through the year, but. Wellington Wire. So I did check in with Rachel about that. It's not high on her radar screen right now. So she said maybe it
Not
would be
surprising.
something. You know, she might do a smaller version of it, maybe come June. They're looking for an assistant for her department. Maybe that person would take this on when they come on board. So right now we're in a holding pattern on the wire. But if we have some information we want to get out, we can put together things that can go in the digital backpack for the kids. We can put it on Facebook through the town's Facebook page. We can put it on our website. So, you know, obviously things that we're doing at the library, they're going to be posting that on their webpage and Facebook page. So that's great. But if you think of anything that we should get the word out to the community, just let me know and we can find use those other avenues. I don't have any new communications to share. Open space and natural resource maps. Those are, you know, things that we're going to work on so that we can provide comments and feedback for the Plan of Conservation and Development, which is due in 2028. The professor at UConn said that he was going to talk to some of his students to see if they would be interested in being involved with us and updating our natural resource maps. And if we were to do that, it would probably start sometime in the fall that we would have a student working with us. And then membership. Thank you, Heather, for hanging in there. We have 2 alternate positions open on the commission right now. And if you're interested, responsibility-wise, what that means is, you know, we would love to have you come to every meeting if possible. If not, it's not as crucial as if you're a regular member. But as an alternate, you can participate in discussion, bring up ideas. The only thing you cannot do is to be participating in a vote unless you're seated for somebody who's not present. So if you're interested, the commission can vote to recommend that the Board of Selectmen appoint you to the Conservation Commission. Right now, the alternate seats, well, in general, membership is for 3 years. You're making a 3-year commitment. But the way that the alternate positions that are open right now, the terms I think that are left are only 2 years. So you'd serve for 2 years and then you could be reappointed if you wanted to be, or even move to a regular member if there's an opening. So that's kind of how things are. Do you have any questions about the commission or?
No, I've been taking a lot of notes and just taking it all in. I have lots of ideas though too, so.
Great, great. We would love some infusion of new thoughts and ideas. Do you think you'd like us to take a vote tonight about, or do you want to think about it and get back to us or?
Yeah, no, I think it's, no, go ahead if you have time or if you want to.
Would you like to be on the commission?
Yes, I would. It could, as an alternate for now.
Great.
Yeah,
This is my second meeting this evening, so I'm like,
you're meeting down.
We generally meet once a month on the third Wednesday. So
And Kathy, do we have a new membership list? Because I think the one I have now is showing Nora is now a regular member and Patty is the alternate.
yes.
Yes.
And do
Okay.
the terms look okay in terms of the end dates? As I did send out a new one. I sent out one and it was wrong. I hadn't updated the end
Yep.
dates, and then I sent out another one the same day.
Well, yeah, I don't have one that has the proper listing of who's regular and who's alternate.
None of us are regular.
Well,
I'll tell you what.
as regular members.
Yeah, we're fantastic members. We're not regular.
So
But-
let me just say this too. If we vote tonight and we vote to recommend Heather, I'll put that forward to the Board of Selectmen. At some point in the next probably month, they'll put it on their agenda. They may invite you, Heather, to go. And then, once they may ask you a few questions, sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. They'll appoint you. And then I believe you may, because you're a new member, you may have to check in with the town clerk after. I don't know if they're still doing, they used to do swearings in. Laura,
Really?
did you have to?
I did for Board of Ed, I didn't for here.
No,
Okay. Maybe not because it's not an elected position.
right.
Yeah, that may be.
Right.
Okay. I'll double check on that part, but it's not a big deal. All right. Can I hear a motion from someone on this issue?
Oh, I move that we recommend to the selectmen that Heather Alexson be appointed as an alternate member of the Conservation Commission.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposition or abstentions? Okay, so moved. So Heather, I'll send out a letter to the Board of Selectmen. I'm not quite sure when it'll get on their agenda, but they will notify you. So, okay.
Thank
All
you.
right, great. And then the last thing under new business I wanted to bring up, the Eastern Connecticut Conservation District, ECCD for short, received an EPA and a Connecticut Deep grant last year that allows them to bring the 8 towns that are in the Natchog River watershed together to establish the Natchog Healthy Watershed Protection Plan Board. And their job, the ECCD, their job is to have one of their staff provide time to facilitate meetings to create an advisory board that would consist of people from the 8 different towns. And those towns include Willington, Mansfield, Wyndham, Chaplin, Ashford, Eastford, Union, and Woodstock. So all those towns are in the Natchog watershed. We're in that because of the Fenton River draining to the Natchog. They would bring together people from those towns. They would be municipal representatives. They could be from conservation. They could be from inland wetlands, planning and zoning, land use office, government agencies, people that are part of lake associations, recreation groups, people from Yukon, and local residents who are interested. And they will facilitate putting together a board and then have subgroups working on different themes and projects, things like forestry, agriculture, water quality, recreation, wildlife habitat. So we have an opportunity to participate in that. And I wondered if the first meeting they're going to be having is on April 8th. It's going to be from 10 to 11:15 at the Knowlton Hall in Ashford. And they're asking for anybody who's interested in being part of these working groups to come to this first meeting. So I wondered if anybody on the commission is interested in participating
And Kathy, that was the Eastern Connecticut Conservation District?
Yes,
Yeah, okay, just one.
And it's April 8th,
April 8th, it's Tuesday,
10 to 11 to 1.
11:15.
Yeah, so it's during the day. Yeah, I have
Yeah,
time.
yeah. It's just kind of a launch meeting to kind of introduce the idea and what they're planning to do. I don't know how long, I don't know what the commitment will be. Will they want people to get together in subgroups, once a month and then report back every quarter? I'm not sure how they're gonna structure it. But we have been invited to participate. And we can have more than one member from the commission go to this meeting too, because there may be some people on the commission that would like to, work with the forestry subgroup or the recreation subgroup or wildlife, So it can be it can be multiple members from a town. It doesn't have to be just one person from a town. So I'm just throwing that out there in case people are interested in participating. I'm planning to go to represent the Conservation Commission, at least at this first meeting. But if any of you who have interests, like I said, in agriculture, forestry, wildlife, water quality, they're gonna have smaller subgroups that are gonna be working on those issues in the watershed. Okay, well, if anybody's interested, you can shoot me an email and I can give you more details.
Yeah.
Hey, anybody have any other new business they wanted to bring up tonight?
Nope.
No. Okay. Well, it looks like we're at 9:05. Our next meeting is April 16th. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay, Bob, number 2. Anybody else want to second it?
I'll second it.
Okay, thanks, Marilyn. All right, all in favor? Aye.
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 Okay. Good night, everybody. Have a
Aye.
great week.
What's the Zoom
right.
equivalent of a rising motion to adjourn? Everybody gets up and leaves.
Have a great night.
All right, good night.
Thank
Sleep tight.
you too.